Hey everybody, my name is John Gough. I run strategy and services at Element 3. Element 3 is a full service marketing agency, and we work across commercial vehicle and outdoor recreation. So think RV, marine, power sports, on-road, off-road vehicles. And our work is really inside all of these organizations with a complex dealer or distribution model. And so we spend a lot of time and energy thinking about what is good and bad and what works and doesn't work in that ecosystem. And so I'm a practitioner and a researcher. And the thing that I want to share with you today that I hope you get out of this is just a view of the world across all of those complexities and the things that we're hearing and things that are working and the things that aren't working. The thing that you will hear and the thing that you will feel, unfortunately, in all of this research is a lot of pain. It's a lot of opportunity, but the reality is that the complexity of the model that you all live in causes a lot of friction and frustration. And over the past day, you've heard great ideas and insights about how to improve your processes with tools and collaboration. This last talk, or the panel that you were just listening to, was excellent. And this idea of fostering business growth with collaboration, in particular in the EV space, that it extends everywhere, right? And the reality is, and the thing that we hear and see consistently, is that everyone wants the channel to work. I've never met anybody who didn't want the channel to work. And you live in this space where sometimes you think it would be really great if I could just work in a direct to consumer environment. I could just like reach right in and make my sale and be done. And when I think about that pain, I imagine the icy hot advertisement where the little red glowing ball is hovering over the outline of your body. And it's like, where is it today? Is it on your knee? Is it on your hip? Is it your shoulder? Like, what part of your world is causing that friction and frustration? Um, it changes. It changes depending on the day and depending on what problem you're trying to solve. But I have a diagram I hope will kind of illustrate that pain and why that pain exists for us here in commercial vehicle. The problem is complex. The ecosystem is complex. And it's not just about an OEM and a dealer. I mentioned that we work in outdoor rec, and sometimes it's true there. But here, and I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, there are the FMCs and the government fleets and the upfitters and rental companies and these really diverse customer segments that can look sometimes like they're going to buy one or two vehicles all the way up to large national fleets. And that complexity, it exists on both sides, right? So your side feels like, how am I going to manage all these partners? Well, the customer has an equal amount of complexity, and it multiplies with every decision they make and with every new partner that enters their world, right? So the question of how do I buy a commercial vehicle is instantly met with, well, that depends. Are you a municipality? Are you a small business? Are you a national fleet? Do you need a vocational truck? Do you need a work van? Like where are we going? And so we have experts like you all to help customers, move through that ecosystem efficiently. But when we think about that ecosystem, when we're looking at it and we're doing this research and we're helping organizations improve or simplify this complexity, we're looking less at the nodes and more at the connection points because it's really about the relationships and really about how you're managing the system that creates smoothness and efficiency and clarity and understanding across all of the different points of this ecosystem. And it sounds like stuff that you hear every day. So it sounds like, man, this worked a lot better when Ralph was there, right? We had a great relationship. He was reasonable. He understood what I was working on. And this new guy just doesn't get it. Is it that the new guy doesn't get it? Is it that his incentives have changed? Is it that something about the business has changed? Much of that, much of that is really obscured to you as a partner, as an outside entity. And all you know is like, man, that felt better before. We talked to a guy who worked at owned, in fact, a power sports dealership, and what he said was, I don't want to work with this OE anymore because they don't understand my business. They want to ship me all of these units. They want me to buy this stand, and they don't care about the fact that none of that produces margin for me in the first shipment. The first shipment's entirely for them. It's the second and the third and the fourth shipment where I can actually start to make money. And so that was a business realization, observation that he made, and ultimately caused him to stop selling with that OEM. And I think that is the hard and scary part about some of the pain that we all experience sometimes is that that decision is a decision that many people can make unless you're one of the lucky few that has 85, 90% market share of the thing that you're making or building or producing. Your suppliers, vendors, the other people in this ecosystem have a choice. And so your ability to make their lives easy and better through these different connection points really matters a lot. Are they going to choose you? Are they going to prefer you in a multi-lot or multi-brand environment? Or are they going to start shipping your business somewhere else? And if they do, you've lost. So let's talk about some things that we've seen in the research, some kind of big key observations about things that you might be able to do differently to improve your chances in this really complex environment, to make your life better and to make life better for the people around you. So we're going to go through three big ones. And again, as I go through these things, feel free to jump in. Let us know your observations and the things that have worked or not worked for you. This is from the people who are in your shoes and in your seats. And so some of it will feel really relevant. Some of it you might look at and say, I've tried that, it'll never work. And so learning from your peers in that way can be really helpful. The first one here is just like a double click into the complex distribution network. And what the research shows pretty consistently is that the ecosystem complexity creates these communication gaps and inconsistent customer experiences. And the commercial vehicle industry isn't just complex, it's fragmented by design. So we see this growing sophistication gap between, for example, like a large corporate dealership and a small family operation. And the complexity there should be, I think, is really obvious, right? You have this really big, sophisticated organization, a really small and potentially less mature organization, and you have to figure out how to serve them both. And the most challenging problem there is like if one of those is driving 10, 15, 30% of your revenue, one organization, how do you support that one, obviously, in a really meaningful way? And then how do you support everybody else? The most successful organizations that we see are segmenting not just their customers, but also their distribution partners, the other people in the ecosystem. And what they're doing is they're looking out into the world, both on the customer side and then also on the supply side, and saying, who are my best partners to solve what particular problems? And how am I going to support them in the channel? How am I going to make clarity for them? How am I going to help them understand our relationship? And it's not just our relationship, it's all our relationship and the people on the other side all the way through to the customer. And so, although technology adoption varies dramatically across these networks, the best ones, the best environments are the ones that produce a lot of clarity all through that ecosystem. You can ask yourself questions like, do we have the right kind of role-specific training programs for our distribution partners, depending on this thing that we're producing? We hear stories about how an OE, for example, will produce some amount of training for the next person in line. But the next person in line is often not the person who is actually delivering a vehicle to a customer. And so is the last person in line getting the support and the training and the information that they need so that when the customer comes back with a question, we don't have to run it all the way back up the chain. right? I can give you an example here, again, from a consumer side, where Airstream uses a Mercedes van to produce a vehicle that is now, when it hits the customer's hands, an Airstream. But a lot of that vehicle is not actually an Airstream. It's mostly a Mercedes, but some of it's actually a Lippert or a lot of Lippert components. And so the customer, when something breaks down, they're going to go to the dealer, but they're not actually going to be able to solve or service all of that at the dealer. The same thing is true in a multiple here in commercial vehicle. And so making sure that you have empowered the channel really effectively matters a lot. The second one that I want to point out is this idea of orchestrating a supply chain or the supply chain ecosystem. And what we find really consistently is that inventory management is probably the single biggest source of tension in these relationships. And this quote just rings in my head all the time when I think about this. I'm going to reread it here. It's always a partnership until it's not. It's really one-sided. So this is a dealer saying this. If you refuse to take inventory or you don't think a program is appealing, they get mad. Well, who is they? In this case, it was an OE. And that like partner environment can dissolve really quickly. That idea of partnership can dissolve really quickly when the leverage feels really unequal. And so the question is, are you treating your channel partners like partners, or are you treating them just like a channel? Some of the things that we see here extend that pain beyond the dealers and upfitters into these FMCs and rental companies. And the market volatility that we're experiencing, and more every day, is creating these upstream and downstream communication breakdowns. Transparency in the forecasting of your inventory visibility across all of these stakeholders is incredibly rare, especially in commercial vehicle. There is a lot of you'll get it when you get it. I promise it's coming soon. Next week, next month, next year, attitudes, and frankly, language that creates a lot of obscurity for different people up and down that chain. And obscurity is not helpful. You all know that your customer is actually, what they really want is clarity, and they want honesty, and they want to know when something is going to happen for them. And so moving the goalpost constantly because you're trying to keep somebody happy is one of the easiest ways to make them really frustrated with you. Again, a thing that we hear on repeat when we're doing these research interviews. Being really clear, being really transparent, and including having tools that will build transparency increases that trust. Trust and transparency, as you know, they go hand in hand. And it can go even one step further into marketing programs that include all of your distribution partners. And so it's not only the supply chain ecosystem, it's the go-to-market ecosystem that, when that thing is holding hands all the way up and down, produces a lot more consistency and viability for everybody. Okay, so we talked about the complex distribution network broadly. This is a supply chain ecosystem. Let me go to the third point. Creating the idea of creating brand consistency across the entire ecosystem is really a spectrum of choices. This quote was from research that we did last fall. It says, this trend is away from give it to the dealer and more towards we're going to invest in the dealer through centralized tech and give it back to the dealer. I had two conversations back to back this week that I think show the full spectrum here. One of them was one of the biggest truck OEs out there, and someone on their team said to us, "Listen, we know how to do this better than our dealer partners. We're going to own that. We're not going to give control in those environments because we know how to do this." Talking about marketing channels and activities. The next day, we had somebody on our podcast who said fully the opposite. Their idea was, we're going to take all of our marketing dollars and we're going to make them accessible to dealers in the local environment, and they're going to pitch us their ideas, and then we're going to fund those ideas, and we're going to measure and test them and figure out which ones work. And so I don't think that you can declare necessarily that one of those things is better than the other. There's certainly control levers and reasons why you would want to spend money or not spend money in those certain environments. But the two ends of that spectrum are philosophy. And your organization's philosophy and how you're going to allocate your resources and your time and your energy, your money into those different environments is going to allow your channel partners to help you or not. One of the like standout stats on this is that 64% of co-op dollars go unspent annually. That's sort of a crazy amount of money that people are leaving on the table. And it's not so much that they're leaving it on the table because in most organizations that's just going to get washed to the bottom line. But the problem is that's capital that's unallocated. It's not working in the market for you. And it sits there latent for months and months and months when it could be doing something. Why isn't it? Fragmented communication, misaligned incentives, programs that not all the stakeholders feel like are going to create value. So they're saying, I'm not even going to sign up for that. I'm not going to do that because it's not even going to work. What works? Things like making sure that the marketing assets that you're providing up and down that chain aren't modified beyond recognition, but that you have flexibility in your programs, that you are able to say to your dealer or your channel partners, we understand that going to market together is how we're going to win together. And so let's talk about what makes sense rather than I'm going to hold this back and only drip it out to you on the occasions that it seems like it makes sense to you. You have visibility and ability to track your co-op systems and your dollars. Not making sure that those unallocated resources don't sit in a account somewhere, but that you're moving those forward in meaningful ways. And sometimes that means going to the dealer and saying, like, hey, why aren't you spending these things? What is it that you think is not working about this? And then changing. That change is really hard. But again, the research shows us pretty consistently that change is really valuable. The organizations that are winning in this space have ecosystem-wide guidelines, they have accessible tools, and they have conversations with their channel partners. Okay. If all the players in the commercial vehicle ecosystem want to win, and again, the research shows that they do, the conversations we have show that they do, this chat room shows that they do. Over the last day and a half, you said again and again different things that like prove that we want to get there and go there together. The most important thing that we can do is create alignment and collaboration and have those conversations across all of those touch points. This research is the work that we conduct on a biannual basis. It's free. You don't have to put in your email or anything to get access to this. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to share it with you. I'm happy to have these conversations with you. We believe that the connection, the collaboration, the working together is the thing that will produce enterprise value and ecosystem value across the chain. So I hope you picked up something that was helpful to you in this conversation. I hope that some of these insights or quotes maybe spark something, a conversation you need to go have with one of your channel partners, and look forward to talking to any of you about this as much as you want.